Hello, everyone, and welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, coming to you, as always, from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eyes of the Galactic Empire. My name is Joe Martali, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, the one, the only...
Garrett K. Jones.
That's right. And, well, Garrett, how are you doing today?
I'm good, but to paraphrase Bill Murray, it's raining again. Where it's kind of crazy here because we have a lot of reservoirs here that are, or at least like lakes and everything that are well above capacity. Like there's an area here called Pine Flat, and they're at like 85-88% capacity. And that's not counting the snowpack that's forming and that will melt during the summer. And if they go anything above that capacity, it's gonna stress the dam way too much. But then we're having flooding here in the county because there are parts in the south part of the county that were part of Tulare Lake. If you look at if you do some research on Tulare Lake, it was the largest lake west of the Mississippi, I believe.
Wow.
And it's starting to refill, and there are now towns there that are underwater, more or less.
Wow. So I guess the song "It Never Rains in Southern California" is a lie.
Don't know. I think maybe whoever wrote that song just wasn't paying attention to history. So, yeah.
Although technically you're not in Southern California, you're in Central.
We are in Central, but it's technically the southern half of the state.
Okay. Yeah, California is a big state.
Yes.
Yes. Well, everything here is going fine, other than, as I mentioned off camera, I made my daughter cry.
Shame.
Yeah, I know.
Shame.
I'm a bad shame.
It's not like he actually did anything wrong, folks. He just reminded her that veterinarians sometimes have to put animals down.
Yes. But she's 8, so...
She'll bounce back.
Yeah. And I burnt bacon, so...
Okay, now that right there...
that's unforgivable.
That's a worthy trespass.
That's right. Well, we're not here to talk about veterinarians or bacon, both of which are good and necessary for society, especially bacon.
Makes everything better.
That's right. Yes. Could it make the sequel trilogies better?
I don't know. Maybe if I was eating bacon and it was laced with like LSD, but I doubt it.
Wow.
So this week we are talking about the newest installment of the Bad Batch. This is what, episode 14?
I think so. And we have 2 more episodes to go, but only 1 week. Next week will be a double batch.
Ooh.
A two for one, 2 episodes in 1 day. And that will round out the Bad Batch. So next week will be a little bit of a extra long episode, and stay tuned. We have an announcement at the end of the show concerning an upcoming episode of War of the Stars.
Ooh,
so this episode, just first off, I thought this was a lot better episode than last week.
Definitely.
Kind of all over the place, which was fine. It was kind of tying up a lot of some loose ends, bringing everything up to speed to what's going on and where everything is going on. And we start with the return of Echo.
Yeah.
Echo is back, and Captain Rex.
It was a really good episode. Jumping off, I mean, really action packed. I like the ship that Rex and crew were using for hijacking the Imperial cruiser.
Yeah. There was a few little things that I noticed, and the guys at Screen Crush noticed too the little detail when the little escape pod that went to attach, it used its thrusters to slow down to
Mm-hmm.
kind of attach, which was a cool little thing. Remembering that physics still does exist in the Star Wars universe.
Yes.
Looking at you, bomb scene from Last Jedi.
Anyway, we won't
Anyway,
bog
yes.
ourselves down with horribly paced, Ryan Johnson scenes. Yeah, I thought the pacing of it was really good. I mean, tonally, the episode was kind of all over the place because you're jumping back and forth from what Rex and crew were doing to what was happening with Crosshair, to what was happening on Pabu with them getting the information about Crosshair. But yeah, I feel like I feel like this episode, as good as it was, kind of encapsulates one of the issues that I've had with this season is that the season it's like the writers did not put together a solid trajectory for how the season was going to flow, and they've been trying to bounce back and forth and keep track of all these characters, but they just weren't sure how to go about doing it, and it felt like it was kind of all over the place. And this one episode feels like that kind of that microcosm of that larger problem. But
yeah,
the writing was good on it. The scenes were fantastic. And the thing I think I appreciate about it the most was the fact that Crosshair has become a sympathetic character finally.
Yeah.
Because before this, I mean, he's just that guy that he's the sociopath on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then he breaks rank. He goes back to the Empire. He does so willingly. He's not under anybody's control. And then he comes to realize exactly how far he's fallen.
And I think they really planted the seeds for that even last season, with that talk that Crosshair and Omega had, where Omega sympathized, and I wouldn't say sympathizes, but empathizes with him, and basically says that you're still my brother.
Yeah.
No matter what, you're still my brother. They're still your brothers, and that will never change.
Yeah.
And even saying that scene where he says, "I understand. I understand. You can't help it. It's your, it's your programming. It's what you were designed to do."
Yeah.
Almost, not excusing what he was doing, but understanding and sympathizing and realize,
with why he's doing
it. Not saying that it was right what he was doing, but understanding why he was doing it.
Yeah, and what I think is interesting though is I know I might be going off the rails on this, but we're starting to see that not only is the audience showing some sympathy for Crosshair in this episode, so is the gal that's helping the doctor.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it almost felt like she was letting him go when he did his initial escape from the cell. Almost like she loosened the straps and the restraints just enough for him to grab a weapon. And it's like, if she knows how dangerous he is, and she's not like some kind of spy or anything like that, she wouldn't have done something like that.
Yeah. And to put, that much trust, knowing that he could easily have just killed her when he got out. He could have easily just have shot her with a blaster, but he stunned her, didn't he?
Yeah, he stunned her. He shot everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was almost like he understood too, that, hey, you're kind of letting me out.
Yeah.
And we just talked a little bit about the once again, the Star Wars on the nose naming Dr. Hemlock.
Right.
Really?
It's simultaneously the most like normal name in the entire Star Wars universe as far as last names.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and it, once again, a traditional comic actor playing a very very serious role. Um, I can't remember the actor's name, but he was from
Jimmy Simpson.
yeah, yeah, from I know he did It's
He's
Always
done
Sunny.
no.
He's it,
Jimmy Simpson's done all sorts of stuff. He was one of the first things I ever saw him in was the comedy movie Loser with Jason Biggs.
okay.
He's like a college like a roommate, and the guy's a complete like he give deals in uh, GHB or something like that.
Mm,
But yeah, he's done all sorts of stuff, and like he was one of the last things I saw him in was he played the younger version of Ed Harris's character in Westworld on HBO.
okay. Okay.
He's really, and that's the thing is that when you have comedic actors, they're really good at doing serious roles because they're quick thinking when it comes to adapting to the scene as far as what is needed of them
Hmm.
emotionally
Yeah.
and whatever that character is going to be. So you take a comedic actor and they're really going to turn heads because it's not just they can play the emotion really well.
Yeah.
In fact, Joss Whedon, who when he directed the follow up film to his Firefly franchise, not to jump franchises here, but when he directed Serenity, there's this holographic recording of a scientist who worked for the Alliance government and was trying to bring peace to this planet called Miranda. And they had Sarah Paulson, who she's gotten famous on the American Horror Story anthology series, but back in the early to mid 2000s, she was still just a comedian
Yeah.
doing comedies and stuff and chick flicks and stuff like that. And so she does this one scene where she's recording something really quickly and she's in danger, and you can hear the sound of the people trying to break into the room where she's at, and you can see that emotion on her face. And so yeah, Jimmy Simpson, jumping back on topic, he uses those skills very well playing him.
Hmm. And plays the soft spoken villain. That not every villain has to be yelling and
Screaming and
yeah. He's
yeah,
just very, which is even more chilling. That.
yes, because you're not entirely sure what's going to happen next, what they're going to do. He could just as easily kill someone as he would just be like, okay, you're fired.
Yeah. Yeah. Um.
I'm still kind of, what's interesting is the character who plays his assistant.
Mm-hmm.
It's Dr. Hemlock's
Hemlock.
assistant. Yeah.
Did they give her? Did they give her name?
They do give her a name, and I'm trying to remember what her name is. Emery.
Emery.
Yeah. And so she's supposed to be his lab assistant, but what's interesting is if you pay attention to her character, her name is Emery Carr.
Mm-hmm.
If you pay attention to the way she's modeled, like the coloring on her, her accent, it's very unique because the actress who plays her is Keisha Castle Hughes, who was
Right.
in the movie Whale Rider, and then she actually played one of the Sand Snakes in Game of Thrones. And what's interesting is like her accent is a New Zealand accent,
Yeah.
which is the same accent used by the actress who does the voice of Omega.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yes.
I made this comment before a couple weeks ago. I maintain that Emery is an older version
Of Omega.
of Omega. Because like she's got the same coloring, she's got the same kind of voice, just a little bit older. She's got roughly the same build. Like if you were to age Omega up a few years, she would probably be almost the spitting image of Emery, with the exception of the hair and hairstyle. In fact, I'm reading on StarWarsNews.net right now. It says here, when chatter started to circulate after episode 12, The Outpost, that there was more to Emery than met the eye, particularly given her New Zealand accent, plus a role as a laboratory assistant in a cloning research facility, all eerily similar to Omega. So I hazard a guess that she is an older variation of the Omega genotype.
Yeah, maybe it was because there's always been the speculation that Omega is force sensitive.
Right.
Maybe Emery was a previous non-force sensitive version. Like they were
right. And the thing is if what they're doing with Bad Batch and Mandalorian right now is true to form, and they're trying to kind of retcon some of the things from the sequel trilogy, this goes a long way towards that, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to learn how to clone a force sensitive individual, which is what is used on Palpatine in Rise of Skywalker, which previously it was claimed that it's impossible to clone a force sensitive user.
Right.
That there's usually some kind of problem and the clone breaks down.
Yeah. I know in the EU, part of the problem is that the clone would sometimes go insane. Other things. Of course, even in the EU, the old EU and now Legends continuity, they brought the Emperor back through a clone,
right?
Too.
But it was an imperfect clone. It broke down way too quickly.
Yeah. So that's why you had the numerous number of VATs that were cloning.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, the other factor for that is that this was actually a plot point that came up in the Force Unleashed franchise. The second game in which the Force Unleashed, if you've never played that video game, the first one is great. It ties really well into the canon of Star Wars. But the sequel picks up even better, and it deals with that issue of cloning, and you actually get to go to the cloning facilities on Kamino. And the Jedi character that mentors Starkiller towards the light, his name is Ron Coda, and he tells Starkiller, he's like, you can't clone a Jedi. It's impossible, because the Force doesn't allow it to happen. Yeah. You're always going to get some kind of corrupted version. He's like, if you're here, it means you didn't die like everyone thought you did. You're actually here because you're really Starkiller. And so as you're playing in the game, as you're playing as Starkiller, you as the audience are wondering the same thing that Starkiller is: am I a clone, or am I the real deal?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And so I think what we're seeing here is, I think what we're getting at is the retconning, is that the reason why Omega is so important is because, as you say, she's force sensitive, or at least appears to be.
Yeah. Now, is that something that bothers you at all, that they're putting this in, that they're possibly making her force sensitive, or is that something that you're like, yeah, it makes sense for the way the story's going?
As far as the way the story is going, it feels like it's a natural progression. However, I just kind of wish we'd not to quote or paraphrase Kylo Ren, but I just kind of wish they'd let the sequel trilogy die, destroy it if we have to, because it's not good. And as bad as the dialogue was in the prequels, I find myself enjoying that storyline much more, because it was concise. It flowed. You didn't really have to do that much to retcon any of the things that were established in the original trilogy.
Right. Well, so then we return for a little bit to what was Palu was the name of the planet, I
Pabu.
believe. Palu or Space Greece.
Yes.
Space Crete, basically. I felt like we should be, a Star Wars rendition of Mamma Mia should break out there any minute.
Oh yeah, gosh. Oh man, the only thing that could make Pabu seem any more interesting is if the one island on this oceanic planet, one island, 4 people, is if it was actually secretly a dormant volcano that erupts and splits into a ring-shaped atoll left over, and everyone dies. That would it's like, oh, it's Santorini all over again.
Oh wow. And at the end, the batch are left with a decision to make.
Yeah.
Do they go after their brother? Do they trust Crosshair? Because as Wrecker said, it could be a trap.
Yeah.
He could be setting them up. They don't know. And this idea that I've seen a lot of old Western tropes here too.
Mm-hmm.
With the idea of the heroes going into a town and taming the town, or trying to put down roots, but realizing that they can never be part of society.
Right.
You see the same thing in The Mandalorian. You see the same thing in this show too, where because of their background, because of what they have, what they do, they can help out these towns, they can help out these people, but they can never stay because violence follows them wherever they go.
I've seen the same thing, and I'm kind of curious to see how it plays out, because it's what I would really like to see is, I'm curious to see where this will go, because we have seen these tropes before, and like in the next couple of episodes, we have 2 different directions that the plot can go.
Mm-hmm.
Like the plot that the writers want to have happen is that the batch they play the they play the heroes, the true heroes, and they go and they try to rescue Crosshair, and chances are, and that could go one of 2 ways itself. Like they could show up, it's not a trap, and he ends up dying, or it is a trap, and by the time they get there, he's been brainwashed again.
Yeah.
Or and on top of that, it is a trap, but the trap wasn't set by him; it was being used by Hemlock.
Mm-hmm.
But my question then would become, well, what's the alternative? If they don't go and rescue Crosshair, what then?
Yeah.
If they choose to go do something else, where does that take the adventure? Because it's at this point, like it feels that the authors have kind of pigeonholed themselves into this scenario where the characters are given they're given a difficult decision: do we go and rescue Crosshair or not? Whether it's a trap, but there really is only one decision for them to make, because there's no alternative. They can't go and face Sid because they've already dealt with that off screen.
Right.
I doubt that they're going to have time to do another earthquake episode on Pabu. That would just be pointless.
Yeah.
There's really nothing else for them to do other than, hey, let's go rescue our psycho buddy.
Yeah. And I mean, then the question is now, do you know if they have greenlit a 3rd season?
I have no idea. Let me check that out.
Because
Hold on.
that would really also could dictate the ending of the how the season ends.
Yeah.
Because if they just do a season 2, if they just do 2 seasons, then obviously various ways it could go, considering the fact that we don't, haven't seen, the Bad Batch show up or mentioned anywhere else so far. Obviously that's for various reasons, but
So, what I'm seeing here is that it says, I'm looking at fresherslive.com.
okay,
And it says, despite rumors of an upcoming announcement, there's currently no information available about the release date or renewal of Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3. Until the second season concludes, there will be no details available about the third season.
okay,
So it's probable that they won't even do anything.
yeah,
So it's hard to say because
yeah. I mean that will, also, how the season ends will might maybe kind of show, because obviously last season ended, with some closure, but also very open ended, where we knew something was going to happen after this. Will we get that type of ending again with a very open ended ending where, we can kind of see, or will it be a very, a very strong finale where, okay, we know we're not going to get any more Bad Batch. Will we see a member of the Batch die? That's basically what I'm getting at.
if anything, if we do see a character die, my prediction is that we'll either see Crosshair die because he's finally doing something selfless instead of trying to kill something,
Yeah.
or we're going to see Hunter get wounded and it's going to be left open ended, which could lead its way towards a third season.
Yes. Yeah. I think a even more, like, if you want to do the gut punch, I think Wrecker would be the gut punch death. That would be the gut punch.
Yeah, because
like if you want to get like an emotional reaction from the audience, especially from Omega, kill off Wrecker.
Well, my thought would be is see because they've already announced the names for the 2 episodes. One, the next episode is called The Summit, and the final episode is called Plan 99. And so my thought would be is the real gut punch would not just be the death of Wrecker, but the death of Wrecker while trying to protect Omega, and she's taken anyway. Segues into season 3. Because if Hemlock gets what he's after, which is Omega, that would be the gut punch for the audience, because then it really leaves it on a cliffhanger. It's like, where do they go from now?
I was thinking the same thing, but I was thinking, to continue the redemption of Crosshair, if Wrecker was killed protecting Crosshair, saving Crosshair. That would work towards the redemption arc of, for that character.
Yeah.
But your idea is just, that's.
I'm a writer. It's what I do.
This is true.
How best can I traumatize my audience? And still make them read what I want them to read.
Yes.
It's
exactly.
Funny. Man, do I have a story to tell you off the air?
Oh, okay. Well, really quickly, let's touch a little bit on the latest episode of Mando, because we had the return of Misa back.
Yeah, anyway, Jar Jar Binks.
Well, at least the actor who played him.
Yes. Ahmed Best returned. I don't remember what the name of his Jedi character was.
Yeah, ironically, I think it was the same character he played when they would do the Tales of the Jedi Temple. It
Yeah.
was a game show where he played a Jedi Knight who led the kids through this Jedi trial temple, very much in lines with the Nickelodeon's the old Nickelodeon show,
Oh yeah, yeah.
um,
Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Legend of the Hidden Temple, very much in
I
that
love
type
that
of
show, by
vein.
the way. That
Yeah,
was a
that was a
great
good show.
show.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
I,
but
I I thought the episode was really. I mean, you know, it was well directed, well paced, but it was so short.
it
Um,
was
and
after
it
last week's long, super long episode to
yeah,
have just kind of the short, um, you
and it
know,
was
almost bottle episode-ish. Everything was
it
just
wasn't
kind of contained, not like in the news, but everything was just kind of contained on that one world. You
yeah.
know, very much. It was cool though seeing the Mandalorians training. Uh,
It was
although
it was kind of
although
cool
I don't
because
get the idea of them just randomly shooting into the lake there
yeah,
with
that
like
that felt
that made no sense. Like
that
you're
felt
you're
very much like one of those scenes where like you ever see the movie True Lies where you
I
have
think,
like there's a scene towards the going into the third act where they they're getting ready to arm a nuclear weapon and the terrorists are just like shooting up into the air and cheering and it's like
yeah,
what a waste of ammunition.
all
It's
right,
like there's no army in the world that would actually do that unless they're trying to get someone's attention. It's like
yeah,
so stupid and pointless.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but and that's what that felt like for me. But the thing I got annoyed with is like we've seen Mando use his jetpack so many times without it ever running out of fuel. And
hmm
here we have at least three or four Mandalorians all chasing after this dragon pterodactyl thing. And like they run out of fuel within 5 minutes.
yeah.
Like not even that. It's like, do you run around with your jetpacks like filled like a third of the way? What's is
Yeah.
fuel that expensive? I mean, is Biden's inflation rate really messing that up for you guys? But I
And
mean,
also,
like the only intelligent person who was in that group was Bo-Katan. She's like, "Oh, I'm going to get on my ship and track this thing."
Bo, yeah. And did that dragon have the worst case of dry mouth?
Seriously.
Because when the foundling dropped out of its mouth, there wasn't an ounce of saliva or goo or anything, and that poor kid been in that mouth for a
At least a
long time.
day. At least
Yeah,
a day. Because like he was picked up, I don't know at what point the bird swallowed him,
yeah,
but then they give chase, they go back, they make their plan, they go and they camp. They camped. That kid was inside that bird's stomach for at least a day before he got vomited up.
yeah, yeah. They took a lot of hope for that dragon bird thing wasn't already gonna
Oh my gosh.
eat it.
Um,
I was the kid's dad. I'd be like, guys, I don't mean to, but that's my kid up there.
yeah, I don't mean to be that guy, but your kid is pretty much toast at this point. Um, oh my gosh, it was. I mean, the show was action packed, but it just again, it feels like This one felt definitely like a filler episode.
Yeah, I did like that we got a little bit of more backstory on Grogu. We saw how he was um, we're seeing him be a lot more mobile.
Yeah, we are seeing
Um,
that, and I think that's great. But it's like, is he? What's his age comparison? Because I mean, we know he's at least 50 years old, as far
yeah,
as standard years. But I mean, mentally, what does that make him? First, we're told that he's a little baby, and he's completely helpless and can't take care of himself. And now we're at a point where like he's hopping around like he's in his you
yeah.
know
Well,
mid
in
adolescence.
the flashback scene, um, the Ahmed Best clearly calls him a youngling.
Yeah.
because he said, save the young. They say save the youngling. So we definitely know, as far as the Jedi ranking, he had not become a Padawan. He was still a youngling.
Correct.
And that could be any age, because younglings usually were usually it's like 12 or 13 when they were taken on as a Padawan, I believe.
I think
depending on race and
maturity.
Yeah.
And they had to pass certain trials as well before they could be selected as a Padawan. Because Obi-Wan Kenobi was almost phased out and taken to like the food corps or whatever.
Yeah.
Before Qui-Gon came around, I was like, I want that kid.
Yeah.
But the thing that I found was very interesting is that just the way that it feels like a lot of the decisions that are happening are very contrived as far as the storytelling. And I feel like we're running it again, just like we had with Book of Boba Fett. We're running into another moment where you have the main character getting emasculated and upstaged by a strong female character. I mean, we saw that happen with Boba Fett and Fennec Shand. Don't get me wrong, Fennec Shand, awesome character. But when you have a story or a show called The Book of Boba Fett, and he's hardly in it, and she gets the majority of the screen time, that is problematic.
All right.
And the other problem I have for this is that we've got 4 episodes of Mando left, and it feels like the writers have already accomplished the one thing that they were trying to do, which was to show Din Djarin's redemption as a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
We got that done with in 2 episodes. What else can we do at this point? I mean, the covert is not looking at going back to the Mandalorian homeworld.
Right.
I mean, they have proof positive that the air is not toxic, that the living water still exists.
Yeah.
If they really cared about restoring their homeworld, why haven't they gone back? Why are they still hanging out on this podunk planet, getting attacked by dragons and crocodiles?
Yeah.
When they could be doing so much more with their time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe we'll find out tomorrow when the next episode.
I'm hoping.
Maybe we'll get a little bit more clarity on what's going on and where the story is going from there. Yeah. So as we wrap up, first of all, big announcement, as I was mentioning, on April 10th, we will be doing a special episode on a Star Wars particularly the Clone Wars, from the view of people who are actually in the military. We're going to be having a special couple of special guests. We're going to be having Brian Miller. Brian is a good fan of the show. He is the host of the Star Wars Canon podcast. And he is also a writer on StarWarsNewsNet.com, which the website you just mentioned earlier. He's a writer on there. He is also former military, former Army. I'm not sure what rank he held, but he's a good friend of the show. Former co-host also. And on another note, he is the designer of this.
That's awesome. It'll be good to have him on the show.
Yeah, yeah. And we're also having, let me make sure I get his name right here real quick, just a second. Yes, here it is. 1 second. Thomas Harper. Thomas is he is the host of Legal Geeks, a geeky podcast where lawyers discuss lawyer topics within Star Wars. He has been a guest on the show before. He helped us out with our Trial of Darth Vader show. about a year ago. A lot of fun. He is a officer in the JAG Corps, currently serving. I believe he is. I think he's reserve, but he might still be active duty. But he is I believe, major in the U.S. Army, and is going to be helping discuss it. They're both going to be helping discuss the Clone Wars through the eyes of a soldier and an officer.
That'll be fun
to get two different views on it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you guys will join us. There will be, I think so. Yeah. So get your questions ready. As doing something a little bit different. We haven't had guest and kind of roundtable discussion for a while. So looking forward to getting back into that.
Absolutely.
And yeah. So with that being said, Garrett, why don't you tell the fine people out there where they can find you?
Well, you guys can find me on a couple of platforms. First is Instagram and Twitter. You can find me at GKJ_publishing. I post about my books. I post about my my writing journey, and I share promo material for my show, The Right Way, which can be found on YouTube. Again, you can find me there, GKJ Publishing. I'm the only one with that at. You don't have to do the underscore on YouTube. It's just on Instagram and Twitter. I actually have my spring preview coming up on this Saturday, April the 1st, where I'm talking about what's coming up through the months of May, June, and July, as well as throughout the month of April. I will be doing an author interview marathon. That is so each week, instead of doing like top 10 lists or writing tips, it's just every week is a different author that I'm interviewing.
Awesome. Well, as for us right here, of course, you can email us at warthestars1@gmail.com. There's also our Twitter handle. All our social media, just search War of the Stars, the Star Wars podcast. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Check us out on all those places. Check out our Facebook group. All the fun stuff going on there. Wherever fine podcasts are heard, Spotify especially. Check us out there. Just search War of the Stars, the Star Wars podcast again. You can check us out. Our merch store, just search spreadshirt.com/shop/War of the Stars for cool merch. Patreon.com/War of the Stars. And also don't forget our other show, Star Wars Through the Eyes of a Child, where me and my daughter Lily are going through the Clone Wars in chronological order. We'll hopefully be getting a new episode up pretty soon. This week we had a lot of stuff going on. We were pretty busy, so we were not able to record, unfortunately, but we will make sure we get another episode up as soon as we can, so check that out. I believe that is about it. Did I forget anything?
Nah, if we forgot anything, we'll put it into next week's episode.
Yeah, that's right. Sure. Yeah. With that being said, remember, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
This is the way.